Joe Sloan, LSU quarterbacks coach, is our guest. Joe, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for well, I guess not having me. Thanks so much for coming over.
All right, Jaden Daniels, as we're sitting here, finalist for the Heisman Trophy. A lot of people think he's got a great shot at winning. Just his improvement from the first year you coached him to the second.
Yeah, I think, that's, we could talk for a long time about that, but there's so many layers to it. But obviously, I think the improvement that he made during the year last year, right, as I think everybody got a chance to see the way he started the year, and as the familiarity with the offense grew, as the familiarity with our receivers grew, what he was being asked to do, and just getting comfortable with the new environment. I think you started to see the growth. And then, but you grow during the season, but then the ability to come back and in January kind of hit reset, set some goals, and use this unbelievable facility we have, use the different people that we have in this building, the different expertise that we have, and use that to his advantage and put a lot of hard work in on some specific things. And then he was able to really take that from January, February, March, put it into spring ball, and then it kind of rolled from there. And it was really fun to watch him set those goals, kind of set a vision for what he wanted to do to improve, and then watch that come to fruition on Saturdays in the fall. That's a cool thing, right? Because you see the hard work, but then to see it show up was a lot of fun.
It's almost humorous to look back and think that there was a conversation. He can't throw the deep ball.
Yep.
Jaden can't throw the ball deep. And this year, he's done that so many times, and you couldn't walk down the field and drop it in someone's hands any better than he's placed it.
He's number one in the country, I believe, at one point in time, near the end of the year, and he was leading it by a large margin, so I'd imagine he stayed that way. He was number one in the country in accuracy percentage of throws over 20 yards. So, yeah, so there you go.
Right. I think Coach Kelly had a term, don't ice the puck. I think somebody said you got to break some eggs to make an omelet.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of him pulling the trigger, getting more confident, and letting it go.
Well, I think a lot of hard work went into that. When you go out and just watch Jaden throw the ball deep, there's a lot of he throws the ball accurately to a spot and really kind of has always done that. So then I think just being on the same page with the receivers and the work that's where I say it's also about the work that went in. That's the thing. That's a byproduct. The results are the byproduct of what was done for 6-7 months, right? And that was the tough part, right? And then he got to go out and now just go play. So that was cool. I mean, I think just throwing it to a spot, right, and trusting his guys that they're going to be there. And then as they get in that rhythm, then you can start making some adjustments, right? And he was able to do that. I think, and us as an offensive staff, we were back together again, all intact from year one to year two. There was a lot of growth there. So I think just everybody being on the same page and going into spring ball, we're not having to install a whole brand new offense. We're able to really focus on certain things. And I think what the positions we were able to put the players in and the work that the players did to prepare for those really put them in a great position to execute on Saturdays.
Give me an idea of what he did from when you walked off the field against Purdue in Orlando at the Citrus Bowl to the start of this year.
So, with college football, because there's so many different rules throughout the different seasons of the year. So he did a lot of, we came in, we kind of set goals, and Coach Kelly talks about four, kind of breaks development down into four pieces. And that's physical, which will be in the weight room, and just in terms of nutrition, your body in general, right, as an athlete, as an overall athlete. Technical, which is the techniques of the position. Tactical, which would be understanding of football, what we're doing, what defenses are doing, and then mental or emotional, and how you think, right, how you're thinking in different situations. So we set goals for all those things, and it was collaborative. It was with with he and I, and right, obviously other, Coach Jimbrot, Coach Kelly were involved as well. But Jaden was involved too, right? And setting those goals, and then taking those goals. It's important to set goals, but I always say goals are like, something you put up on the bookshelf, right? They're up there, they're there. That's great, but how are we going to put a plan together to reach those? Because we need to improve in these three areas right? Well, how? Right? Let's break it down. Something that's attainable, not, hey, I want to throw the deep ball better, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we need to complete more. We need to have more explosive plays.
Yeah,
That's
so-
awesome, right? But like, what are you going to do, right? And so he broke those things down. And then in January, a lot of it was individual, right? Self-study, things that he's able to do in terms of his film study, and watching some of the good things and bad things that happen. And then starting to, as he worked with and got the receivers together, they were able to work on those specific things, those specific routes. And then as we fit it all together in February, March, when we can start to get back together leading into spring ball, we start fitting it together, piecing it together as a whole team, right? Our whole offense. So I think it just depends, right? It depends on the time of the year and what he was able to accomplish. But I thought he used every day to his advantage. Even when he would be out in California at home, working with 3D QB when he was out there and throwing with them, working on some technical things. So he took advantage of every day, and it showed.
What's interesting too is that he has spent more time in the pocket this year than last year, but yet his rushing numbers are even better than they were.
Isn't it crazy?
a year
Yeah.
ago.
So it was. I said to somebody the other day, I said, coming out of, I think it was maybe week 4, I looked at his stats and I said, he'll probably have about, he's on pace for more like 500 yards rushing or so. But people started to play us a little bit differently. At times we'd see a little bit more two trail type coverages, spot drop zones, because we were able to take advantage of man, right? So then as that started happening and people were, there were rush lanes, plus they were running out to cover our guys, he was able to take advantage. And then I think once he had now he kind of really blended both of, and had a good feel for when he needed to take off, when he didn't, when it called for it, when it didn't. And I think you just really started to see a guy who is elite at both, and knew when to do each one for the feel of that play in that moment. And I think that came from a lot of experience, but then also kind of, like I said, blending those two things together. And that's why he's the most explosive player in college football.
The Florida game this year, it's a team game, but if there's a case of like when Cam Newton would take over a game at
Right.
Auburn or something, he seemed to just really take over that game.
Yeah, it was, so obviously he was throwing it to people who had to catch it and like run. So right, and the O-line had to block, and the running backs were running and blocking and everything else. So there's a lot of things that went into it, obviously. But he definitely had a pretty historic individual performance. I think the funny thing is, you look back last year, the game that really kind of was the turning point for him in the season last year was Florida game in the Swamp. And this year, I think probably the obviously there were some special moments throughout the year, some different things that he did. The game he had over at Mississippi State, I think, to kind of kick off the year, just the efficiency of that game. A lot of different moments in games, but obviously the performance and the numbers that he put up against Florida were pretty eye-popping. So kind of unique, right, year to year, which was fun.
Yeah. And I got to give Denbrock some credit on one of those plays. Joe Sloan, I don't know anything about football, but I know.
No, you know so much, Jock.
On the 85-yard touchdown, he fakes, and the whole Florida defense shifts one way, and he goes around the corner, and there was nobody kind of there.
Yeah, so a lot of our game at times is some, we obviously an inside zone team if you watch us, but going into, and I think we started to expand and do some different things, this year in the run game. And you watch that, and we were running a little bit more outside zone in that game, and they tried to fit it a certain way, and the defensive end tried to, they tried to take something away, and he was able to read it and make that decision and get around the edge. And Malik made a great block. Brian ran down the field. There were a couple big blocks on that play, but the safety had an opportunity to make a play. He just wasn't as good as Jaden in that moment,
Yeah.
So. When you get Jaden in the open field, he can do some special things.
As a coach, have you ever seen a guy like him that seems to glide down the field, and it makes it almost look effortless? Marucci was telling us this morning his head doesn't move.
I think that's a great point that Jack said. His eyes, I think his vision is so good because his eye level doesn't move, right? Like in terms of he's able to keep a very still head while he's moving in the pocket, while he's running down the field, and I think that allows him to have really, really good vision, right, in a lot of different situations. I mean, I've never seen anybody run the ball like that. Like, he's just, you look and next thing you know, it's he's got 8 yards. 10 yards. Oh, you think he's going to get 12? He gets 17. You think he's going to get 20? Oh, here he goes. He gets 30. I mean, he's just dynamic with his feet, but he's also got straight line speed. He can run. So he's pretty special. And I think the way he developed this year in the pocket, in a lot of different types of throws, whether making the throws, making the progressions. I mean, in the Florida game, he comes back to his fifth progression twice in the game, right? All the way back to the running back, right? But not just like a check down, but like working his way all the way through. It was it was awesome. It was just awesome. And when you can do that, when you can make the downfield throws, and then when you also are a threat with your feet, when things either on the run game or when things break down, it's pretty special.
What have you seen of him off the field?
I think the thing that, you always look for like actions, right? Because everybody, I can sit here and tell you, oh, he's an unbelievable leader. He's this, he's that. I mean, I think the fact that he got voted a captain by his teammates, that speaks volumes, right? When your peers look at you like that's huge. And that speaks more than anything that I could say. But for, going into this offseason, and he knew, all right, well, if I'm going to come back, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity to grow, and I may need to step out of my comfort zone. I may need to, we don't grow if we just sit in what we feel comfortable, right? So if that's where I'm really proud of him. As he came back, he challenged himself to get better at everything that he was involved with football, and I think he challenged himself as a leader that way. If you talk to Jaden, he's a really calm, cool, collected guy, not always the loudest or anything like that, but he did a really nice job of understanding how to be more vocal in certain times when it took. But he does an unbelievable job too of grabbing guys individually, and they trust him because of that, right? Because he knows how to talk to people. But I think his vocal leadership and the growth of that has been really, really fun. And I think it's just his natural urgency on a day-to-day basis, how he attacks the practice field, how he attacks the weight room, and then how he attacks the beginning of the game, right? I think he understands how to carry himself in those moments.
LSU for a long time was viewed as a program that didn't do well with their quarterbacks. LSU could have 2 Heisman Trophy winners in 5 years. What would that mean?
Well, it's the most prestigious award in all of football. It's probably the most recognizable award in maybe all sports. So I think it's just special. It's something I know when you talk to Jaden, he's humbled just to be a part of the discussion. It's something that guys who grew up playing football like him dream about. And for him to be a part of the discussion and put the work in and for it to all come to fruition around, and have the right people around him, the right players around him, the right teammates around him, and for him to lean on those guys and be able to be in that, I know it's pretty special. Pretty special. So I think what it says for LSU, I think LSU we have elite talent. We have elite talent here. LSU's had elite talent for a long time. And when you get the right guys at the quarterback position who can distribute the football and use take advantage of the other players around them, special things happen. And I think, a lot of credit goes to Coach Denbrock and the situations that he's put Jaden in and our other guys on offense in. And then they've gone out and performed.
Describe that moment. He's walking off the field at A&M and you guys embrace. I think you had your daughter with you. What was that like?
When you and when you coach players for the reason that I coach, or I would imagine anybody coaches, is you enjoy the game of football and you want to help guys be the best version of themselves. As a football player, as a man, be successful in whatever they're going to do. and when when you get the opportunity to work with somebody like Jaden and watch from the challenge when he challenged himself to come here, and the growth that he was able to make when he put himself in that situation, he put himself in a challenging situation, and to watch him through the ups and downs, and watch him through the hard times and the good times of the ebbs and flows of what you go through as a college football player, and to have the type of success and the type of growth that he had, it's really cool to see. And you through that, just like anything, whenever you go through tough things, right? You create a bond, and I just couldn't be more proud of the way that he's worked, and to watch all that work come to fruition. So you just don't. And that's the end of most years. You know what I mean? When you watch guys now step out and they're no longer going to play for you. And it's kind of gets near the end of the season. Those are times where a little bit of reflection at times, right? And the last time for him in Tiger Stadium, that was a little bit of a moment of reflection of just the pride to watch him and what he's done, and how hard he's worked, and all the accomplishments that the team made, the offense made, and that he made. It's been really cool.
Couple more things, which usually means 10 more things, but I know you got to go. So, Malik's
Yep.
been, he's been good. And last year he was a 1,000-yard receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, just the next step he's taken, especially on catching and running,
Yeah.
which it looks like it's a 5-yard gain and it's 50.
Well, I think, and that's been Cortez Hankton's big thing with the receivers going into the offseason. And we did some things, as an offensive staff with Coach Denbrock and all of us together, of trying to put the guys in position to create more explosives. But then the other piece is right with Jaden, the individual piece, right, that they work on. With Malik, the individual piece that he works on, working with Jaden, right, so that our catches are in stride, right, and we have this, so that we're prepared to carry the football after, right, our catch transition. And I think that goes a lot into, again, it's one of those things, right? It's a goal that they set going into the season. It's something they identified, Coach Hankton and Malik. And then they went to work, right? And they worked on it. And then now watching it come to, you watch his catch and carry, it's been unreal. He's just so versatile as a receiver to be able to carry the football like that, to be able to line up on the outside, run routes where he has to cut, but also be able to attack the field vertically. And he's attack over the middle. Play inside, play outside. He just can do so many different things. And I think again, our familiarity with the system and the guys being in there, we were able to move him around a little bit more. Coach Denbrock and Coach Hankton, and able to put him in different positions so that he could really attack the defense. And then he thrived. Right, he had to do the work. He had to put the work in week to week. Right, about what the different things he was being asked to do. But again. He's pretty special.
And just team-wise, New Year's Day Bowl, playing for a 10th victory, it doesn't feel like it's got the energy that it did when I was growing up or you were growing up maybe, but how do you, tell them, hey, this is important to bridge this year into next year?
Well, I think you walk down in that locker room, it's important. You know what I mean? Our guys understand the importance. They're excited. They're going to be excited to go play football again together. This team's tight-knit, and they love representing LSU. I think Coach Kelly talked about that a lot during the year. They love to represent LSU, right? They want to play for each other, and I think everybody around this building is excited about getting one more opportunity to play with this football team.
All right. This is the last thing. You're hard on those guys on the practice field, right?
Yes.
We don't get to go to practice all too often, but when we do go, we get some good B-roll sometimes of Joe Sloan.
Every once in a while.
Going off.
Yeah. Yeah.
It goes back to what you said, being comfortable is an enemy of progress.
That's it. Hey, here's the deal. If what I say to you bothers you, then the 102,000 are really going to bother you. So, you got to be able to operate in this game's intense, right? It's intense in those moments. And the guys that can operate effectively in those moments, they're really good football players. Right, so that's when their talent comes to fruition. So we just always try to we hope to get the absolute most out of all our players, right? And that's what I hope to do as a coach, is to be able to push them to get the absolute most out of them, and to care about them enough to do that.